Cool.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So guys, I am happy to see you all. And the way Ask Me Anything works is that you're going to drop your questions into the chat, and I'm going to give them to David. And we're going to talk about anything you want to. We are not experts on all aspects of every part of voiceover. We don't claim we don't claim such things, but we are here to foster conversation and community and to just talk out your questions and thoughts of things VO. That's what we're talking about today, and all the time. And so, yeah, so I will try to get to everybody. If I don't get to you, it's not that I don't love you. It's just that, we're all doing our best here. If I, yeah, this is being recorded. So I'm going to post it on our socials. You will see it there. It'll be on YouTube. And I don't know. I don't know if I have anything else to say beyond that. Should we just get started and get going talking about voiceover?
Yeah, let's do it.
You can totally put in the chat where you're from. And if people have feelings or thoughts, like when we're talking about tech or whatever, I love it when you guys share your experiences for what works for you. Because again, this is a community. We used to be able to hang out in person. We are still not doing that in our studio. Okay, here we go. Tony, does Source Connect cost anything? If not, is the free version good enough to do auditions?
That is a heck of a good question, Tony. So our engineers could tell you much better than that. Source Connect does cost if you buy an annual license. Uh, and I presume that there is a free trial version, as you suggested in your question, if you do the freebie thing. This would be great for someone else to chime in here. Uh, my understanding of Source Connect, well, my usage of Source Connect, even the free version, what exists of it, whether it's a trial or some other free version, is absolutely good enough for an audition, without question. You keep in mind that we're all just dealing in digital information. So as long as it gets into and out of your system, then it should sound terrific, right? I'm not sure if there's a free version, and again, I apologize that I don't know, but if there is a free version, my guess is that it would just be some options, some perks that are not thrown in. But let's see if anyone else has any information on that. Siobhan, are you
Yeah,
there?
so we're saying it's yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah,
It
35
it
per
says
month
35.
or 650 for the year. There's a 14-day trial. Um, Someone is asking about IPTTL. Yep, it's essentially does the same thing. There are a number of systems out there. Bodalgo has their own. IPTTL is great. Um, every system is a little different. Some make it easier for clients. Some make it easier for you. Um, we have them all at our studios. Of course, we're not in our studios anymore, and haven't been for about 9 months. But we do have them all. The only thing we don't have anymore is ISDN. We needed to get rid of ISDN. Well, the phone company sort of made us get rid of ISDN because it is no longer supported in our area of New York City, Times Square, New York City.
Mm.
$35, you
You
can get
guys, does the
updates.
35,
Sorry, Siobhan?
yeah, is the 35 per month better because of the updates, or because 650 forever doesn't seem to be that bad to me. So I don't know if the updates are worth the regular charge. I don't know. Okay. And lots of casting producers and directors will insist on Source Connect, so it's taken the
Yes,
place of what it needs to be. Yep.
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Updates are
but I
really
will say for anyone getting into this who doesn't have who doesn't have any remote connection system. So there are clients who are sticklers for a certain type of app or software. We've had clients who absolutely are demand that we work in Pro Tools or another recording software, which is known as a DAW. DAW is for Digital Audio Workstation. So we do have clients who request very specific things that whether it's using a certain microphone or IPDTL or Source Connect or ISDN and whatnot. Sometimes those clients can be swayed. So, for example, we have Pro Tools in our studio and we have IPTTL. Well, if a client calls and they say, look, we need to work in Audacity or we need to work with Source Connect, um, well, we do have Source Connect. If they say we need ISDN, we can say, love to work with you. We don't have that, but we have something else that is a clear substitute. And Why don't you try it once? And sometimes the clients will say, sure, we're very open to it. I've seen that a lot of the voiceover clients who come through are just used to one thing. They've worked with one type of software and they want to continue with that. But once they try something else, they realize, you know what, it's essentially the same thing. So I'd say probably as much as 75 or 80% of the time, we are able to sort of help a client work in another format or another medium. And that's great. Sometimes they just don't want to, just because, I don't know, they're stuck in their ways. And it does happen. So you lose some and you win some.
Um, so Charles is asking, are there writers who specialize in creating scripts for demos, and how can I find them?
There, there are some people out there who claim to specialize in script writing for demos, but typically it's not the only thing they do. Usually they are demo producers who also write scripts. At Edge Studio, we have a real script writer on here. I mean, it's this is our guy, and we've worked with him for many, many years, and he's terrific. I also write a lot of script material. I know that some of you out there I've worked with in past, and I've written some scripts for you. So I will say I would never write your own scripts because there are so many things to consider, and I've been writing scripts for 25 years or so, 30 years. And still to this day, I get better at it and think of new things that will make clients be more open to a demo. In other words, types of things that can be put into scripts that make your demo more marketable. So if you do find someone on your own, make sure they are really experienced. Just because someone is a script writer doesn't mean that they are good for a demo. There's a big difference.
Um, okay, so so Celeste, I'm asking. Okay, yes, Celeste, I asked you another question in the chat. Hi to Amy. I've been looking into VO seriously for the past couple of months. I'm starting Edge training programming tonight. I did get a short book on ACX, but as a newbie, what are the most important things to know? Okay, this looks like a pretty broad,
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
broad question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll summarize. So, Amy is talking about ACX, which is an audiobook exchange where essentially authors are introduced to voice actors, or you could say voice actors are introduced to authors, and matches are made. So, Amy, congrats on getting your first book. The most important thing, and I would say by far the most important thing, is to stay organized. In other words, uh, so many things can go right and so many things can go wrong when putting together a book that if you let things go wrong, in other words, if you forget which take is which take and you don't label your takes or mark your recordings, your perhaps 10-hour job could take you 30 hours and you'll hate life for 30 hours. The next thing I would say is, if at all possible, grab one session with an engineer who specializes in audiobooks. Again, we have some at Edge Studio, um, just to go over editing, because there are editing techniques that will save you a boatload of time. Uh, to give you an example, usually someone's first audiobook takes them about 10 hours of time to complete 1 hour of audio. In other words, if you have a 10-hour audiobook, which is pretty much average in terms of the fiction world, a 10-hour book could take you 100 hours. And that sort of sucks. That's a lot of time, especially when you're paid one price to finish that book. With some editing experience, with some editing lessons or editing techniques, you might get that down to a 5-to-1 ratio, meaning you can complete 1 hour of audiobook in 5 hours, which means you've just saved yourself 50 hours of editing. We're talking massive, massive numbers. Most voice actors will tell you that the first audiobook that they completed in their home studio was was dismal. It was a bear. And after two, three, four books, you start figuring out, okay, there's got to be a better way. So learn those better ways before you go into your book. So again, um, grab a lesson with one of our engineers who specializes in audiobooks. Um, if you don't have audiobook narration experience, I would this is critical. I would grab a coaching session with an audiobook specialist, an audiobook coach also. I know it's you may not have that much time and you may not be looking to spend some money before you get that first job, but even 1 hour with an engineer and 1 hour with a coach can make a big difference in the outcome of the book, which means your book will sound better and you'll get more work. So I would look at it as an investment at this point.
I'm also seeing from Jay Clark saying, "Learn to punch and roll." My first book I did in long takes,
Oh,
full of retakes. It took forever.
yeah, yeah. Punch and roll is a
Cool.
type of editing that saves you a lot of time. So instead of doing pickups, which is pretty common in the voiceover industry, you do punch and roll, which eliminates the vast majority of editing on the back end. Certain types of software, certain dot systems are more open to punch and roll, like Reaper, for example, and some others.
Thank you, Marla, for that. Nice to meet you. So from Nadia, this I like this question. Do you think it's important that a voiceover voice actor live in any of the major cities like New York or Toronto, especially someone like me that lives far from most of the industry?
No, with one very small caveat. No, I know hundreds, possibly thousands of voice actors who live out in the middle of the farmlands and the corn belt, and I don't even know where they are in Alaska and wherever, far from any metropolitan area, and they are fine and they do their thing. As long as you have strong internet connection and email and your home studio, you're good to go. 99% of the work in the industry is done from home studios, so you don't need to be anywhere. The one caveat I mentioned up front is that there are a few genres of work which sometimes take place more often in professional studios. And for those genres, yes, it would be very helpful to be in a major city. Those genres would be um, animation work and commercial work. I would say uh, maybe 2, 3, maybe 4% of commercials. I'm guessing here from my own experience. Maybe 2, 3, or 4% of commercials are recorded in professional studios. So if you want those, you need to be next to a professional studio, meaning a commercial studio. Uh, and in the animation world, many of the big movies that are shot, the animated productions, are recorded, or the voiceover tracks are recorded in commercial studios. So again, there you would want to be in a metropolitan area. But keep in mind that even if 2, 3, or 4% of commercials are recorded in commercial studios, that still means that 96, 97, or 98% of them are not, which means you can do very well from a home studio. And in the animation world, there is still a lot of animation work that goes on from home studios. It may not be the major motion animated productions, but lots of cartoon soundtracks are recorded from home studios, and talking toys, and all sorts of video games and stuff. So you can still do very well from a home studio.
You guys are awesome. Okay. Yeah, I think yeah, that's all legit. It's really great. And actually, I feel like more and more now, it's like after this year, people are learning to work from home in all kinds of ways.
Yeah, and let me
From Eric,
further that. Wait, Siobhan, I'm sorry, sorry to interrupt, but to further that, clients are learning how to better trust voice actors from home studios. So, given COVID, when the quarantine began in March, at least with our studios, we have 5 rooms in New York City. Um, our clients held off. Our clients said, you know what, we're about to record this project, but we'll just wait. We'll wait until we can get into the studio. And 2, 3, 4 weeks later, one by one, the clients started coming back saying, you know what, I guess we can't wait. I mean, our business needs to continue moving forward. And so we've seen a lot of clients acquiesce to just recording voice actors from their home studios. So overall, the small percentage of work that was done in commercial studios has dropped significantly. Like I said, most studios like ours are closed given COVID, and clients they've just been more open to trusting voice actors. So that's great for all of you. It's terrific.
from Erica, what makes a good commercial demo in terms of content? Obviously, Edge is supposed to produce it for us, but how do we narrow down all the advertising out there to a handful of marketable spots? What categories of copy should be represented?
Yeah, there's no one answer to what genre should be represented. Ultimately, the demo should show off your voice. Um, I guess I could be more specific about that. It should show off. the type of voice you have, your best range, and where your voice could be marketable. So you want to make it easy for a client to say, "Oh, this is what she sounds like." You want to make it easy for a client to say, "I get it. I understand what she or he is about, where or when we could use them." You want to make it easy for a prospective client to be able to label you so they know how to file you in their database. So when their client comes to them and says, "Hey, we have this script that needs to be recorded," they can say, "Great, you need a male voice that sounds like X or a female voice that sounds like X," and they can go to their database and find you. Uh, so that is the overwhelming idea of a demo, right? Demo is short for demonstration. You want to demonstrate your voice, your ability, and so on. On, I would say, in most cases, not all, but in most cases, voice actors begin with their demo, I should say, begins with a spot that is most representative of their natural voice, their natural raw talent. And the second spot on their demo would be something that has the most diversity, like show their extreme variety from spots one to spots two. But there are some voice actors who have virtually no variety. They do one thing and they do one thing really well, and everything on their demo sounds pretty much the same, and that's fine. And there are other voice actors who have huge ranges, and that's fine. It's all about showing what is your best voice or voices, and like I said, your abilities and helping a client understand what you're about.
I know for my commercial demo, which I trained with Johnny Heller for, he was like, "You have a youthful sounding voice," and I was like, "No, I don't." And he was like, "You do." And so we kind of, uh, David sort of speaking about like learning what your wheelhouse is and what kinds of spots like what kind of varying spots like suit your particular voice, and so we have like a La Loopsy doll, like a kids toys, and we have like a kind of more modern like fast food ads and just things that kind of like worked with for me in particular, but are still varied, in terms of the spot your coach, like, that's what's great about having training is that your coach works with you and helps you find the, what you need. And how to do it well to your best um effort. So okay, from Gaston, is Pro Tools still the standard DAW platform for the VO world sector? Do you think it will be the standard platform permanently? David, you love this question.
Permanently, I can't tell you what's going to happen in 100 years from now, but Pro Tools is pretty common in commercial studios, but outside of commercial studios, it's not that common. Um, Certainly, I know some voice actors who work from home studios and they use Pro Tools as their DAW, but overwhelmingly, I find that voice actors use um, much smaller programs as their DAW, whether it's free programs or programs that cost $50 or $100 for a year or just to buy out. Audacity and Logic and Audition and Reaper and so on and so on. There are a lot of good systems out there, and they're not nearly as complex as Pro Tools. Pro Tools is great for us in our five studios because we're dealing with multiple voice tracks and multiple layers of music and multiple layers of sound effects when we're building soundtracks for commercials and cartoons and so on. But all of you are just recording one voice, and that's it. So you don't need anything that's super complex. So you're fine with Audacity or any of the pieces of software that I just mentioned. Absolutely fine, and they are all pretty much standard. I always suggest to get software to use a DAW software that is common, just so you can find a user group online and get help should you have a question. You can find tutorials. You can take classes. I know that, like we offer classes in a bunch of different DAWs. I think we have one coming up on a Twisted Wave right now. Twisted Wave is a great piece of software. It's been out there for many years. So there's a lot out there.
From Natalie, kind of, I guess, well, yeah, we're all over the place. Hi, Natalie. Is she's asking, do you think that commercials will grow or diminish in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think they will continue growing. I mean, look at all look at how many channels are on your cable box now, right? And I have like I think my cable box in our house has like 850 channels, and every one of those are full of commercials. And internet is just that many more commercials. I mean, think about it. When you go to YouTube and watch a video, the first thing you have to watch is a commercial. And I know most of the world is tired of the commercials, but number one, it's great because you get, people aren't having to pay as much or anything at all to watch YouTube. And YouTube has to make their money, and it comes from watching from us, us viewers, watching commercials. And specifically to us, it's voiceover work. It's great amounts of work. I can't I can't imagine that the sort of the process of watching YouTube videos changes, where users have to pay to watch all of the time and pay to watch everything on TV. And I don't know. I think commercials will just grow and allow us more and more free content. I mean, apps have commercials, and games on your phone have commercials, and most of it is narrated. It's wonderful.
Natalie, does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Cool. 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 I love it when I can see your faces. So Jim is asking a question that's a little bit above my knowledge. What are your thoughts on the latest TTS AI? Do you believe it will skew what clients are willing to pay?
What is TTSI?
Cool. I don't know. Where are you, Jim? Is your video
Am I
on?
going to be embarrassed when you tell me what it stands for? Like I should know that?
Let's see if okay, I'm not seeing a response. Jim, tell us more. Okay, he might tell us more. But until then,
Does
I'll
anyone
just
know what TTSI stands for? If you do, can you type it into the chat?
Romy does. Hey Romy!
Hello, hi. My understanding is it's text to speech, so it's the kind of synthetic voices that are being made up.
Oh,
Yeah,
text
artificial
to speech.
intelligence stuff. Yeah,
So
yeah. I think a few people have said that as well.
GT, text to speech intelligence. Cool. Um,
Who's-
so what
My
is the question? I'm
voices.
sorry.
Oh, so he's asking. I think the question is: is this gonna? Is this? It's another like, are the robots coming to take our jobs? Kind of question. I think.
Well, the robots are. It's funny to call them robots. Are coming to take a very small percentage of our jobs, and they've been in use for some time, and that will probably grow. I don't think it's going to grow as fast as the entire voiceover industry. The entire voiceover industry, from our perspective, has grown significantly year over year. And I mean, every year there's just more and more work out there for more and more voice actors. Um, and so to make up just to make up a number, if the voiceover industry is growing, let's say 10% a year, maybe robots take on 5% every year. But I believe that the growth of the voiceover industry is larger than the growth of what the robots are doing. So I think that we are fine, and we're still investing in our business. We see no slowdown at all. We don't see clients saying, you know what, let's hold off and wait to see if we can use some software. Um, the biggest the biggest concern about using text to speech is simply that you can't get the human emotion. They just don't sound humanistic, and that's the problem. So when clients call you on the phone and they direct you, or if you self-direct a recording, you're emoting your words. You're using dramatic pauses and timing, and that's something that has not been developed, as far as I know, into any TTSI system. So I think we're safe. That might change in 50 years, but I think it will be past our time.
Susan is asking, what about singers and showing off your voice if you're a trained singer on your voiceover demo? Should it be a separate demo? Should I try to work it into auditions?
Yeah, working it into auditions only if you have an audition that calls for singing. If you meant working it into your demo, that probably makes more sense. Yeah, absolutely. You can work your singing into your demo. I would not make it the focal point because singing is not used that often in the voiceover industry. It is used occasionally in audiobooks. It is used on kids. Lots of kids' work uses singers. Occasionally, video games. Sometimes talking toys. Uh, but that's about it. So most singers have a separate singing demo, and they have a separate voiceover demo. And their singing demo may have one little bit of voiceover in it, and their voiceover demo may have one little bit of singing in it. In other words, there's a little bit of cross. So your voiceover demo might be 95% voiceover and just one little jingle somewhere mixed into the demo, for example. So you can let clients know that yes, you sing, but if they are looking to hire a voice actor, well, that's all they should hear is a voice actor and not a singer.
Okay. This is a sort of standard. Well, I'll just, David, however you want to take this one. From Miriam, how long does it take to complete a demo from start to finish?
That's like asking how long it takes to build a house. It depends on what kind of house. In this case, it depends on your ability, um, what kind of demo you're putting into, how much coaching you may need prior to the demo. There are a lot of variables. I will say that once you go to record the demo, I don't think you should spend all that much time recording a demo. I hear stories of people who spend 20 hours recording their demo to get every word just perfect. And yeah, it means that your demo may sound better than you actually sound, which means you will never get the work from it anyway because you won't read auditions that well. And even if you're given a job, you'll have to spend too long on that job to make it worthwhile. Your demo should be representative of you. We talked about this earlier. Demo is demonstration, right? Or short for demonstration. It should demonstrate your current ability. So if you're recording a 1 minute commercial demo, maybe you read each commercial 3, 4, 5 times. In other words, you should be done in 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. And I realize you stop between takes and you listen back to things, but I mean, the actual recording part shouldn't take that long. It really shouldn't. Along those lines, occasionally voice actors say to me, they call me with a complaint. They talk about an audition that they hope to have won, and they say, it's a really, oh, sorry about my ringer. um, the voice actor will say, "Yeah, I spent like 3 hours on that audition, and I really was hoping to win it." And I'll say, "3 hours on an audition? Why?" And they'll say, "Well, it was all full of medical terminology. I had to look up every single word and figure out how to pronounce it." And they say, "Well, it's a good thing you didn't win because if you won it, what would have happened? Think about it. If it takes you 3 hours to get through a 30-second audition, then if you're given the job, if you win the job and it's a 1 hour script, you're looking at 100 hours to get through the script. Uh, take on auditions which are right for your voice. And honestly, I forgot what the question was. I was trying to tie this back into the original question. That's embarrassing. Siobhan, what was that question again? Sorry.
You know what? It's okay, David. You're doing great. The question was, how long does it take to
Oh, right,
to
right,
to
right.
get a demo
Yeah,
done?
yeah, yeah. So, do things which you can get through comfortably. That's the key to this.
I also just want to say, depending on how you're doing it, like for us at Edge, we have a specific program with tracks and coaching sessions and things like that, and it's important to keep on it. Of course, things happen, right? And life happens and, circumstances. So you're not able to be as vigilant as you'd love to be, should you not have those kinds of conflicts. But like, as best as you can, I think our students do better when they are vigilant about their schedule, and they don't let tons of time go by before before they're recording and things like that. So if you are working on a demo, I would just suggest like that vigilance from start to finish to get it complete and to really keep you working as a practice, which voiceover, like any other art really, or skill, right, is. And it begins with as you train for your first demo, I believe. You agree?
Absolutely.
Yes, he agrees. Um, so where is my friend Kate? Kate is asking, I'm a British narrator based in France. That sounds awesome. And have done about 25. Kate, I was supposed to go to Paris this year and that didn't happen. And I'm not over it. So I'm just publicly my friends literally make fun of me. Like they're like, my name's Siobhan and I'm sad about Paris, but I'm sad about Paris. So I'm just telling you all. Kate has recorded 25 audiobooks to date. Congratulations to you, Kate. And she loves doing it. And for American authors from her home studio, but she's thinking of going into voiceover work too. So other things outside of audiobooks, it sounds like. What training would you advise to that end, as voiceover work is obviously different to, audiobook narration? And is there any, yeah, that's the first question. And I think that's an interesting question because David, I feel like people often go from like voiceover narration into audiobook. Am I right about that? Like, or more like commercials and then they expand. Audiobook seems harder to me than everything else. Like, as a working from home voice actor, yeah. David, what
I
kind of training
understand.
do you?
Yeah, I understand why you're saying that audiobooks seem harder, but for some voice actors, for many audiobook narrators, I should say, audiobooks are easier because you can get into a story and the story carries you. And if you enjoy reading, and especially if you enjoy the subject matter, it's really fun, right? I mean, think about it. You might be home reading a book, um, just in your pastime. Well, now you're at home reading a book and getting paid for it. I mean, that's really cool. And so, for some voice actors, it is great. But there are certain personal traits that you need to be able to get to an audiobook, like stamina, right? And vocal consistency and character development and all of these things. Um, for some voice actors who narrate audiobooks, it is very hard to transition out of audiobooks and into another genre. And for some voice actors who are not narrating audiobooks, the opposite is the case. There are some voice actors who specialize in commercial or documentaries or corporate training videos and whatever, and they have a hard time getting into audiobook narration. There are 27 genres all in all in our voiceover industry, and most everyone has some unique skill set needed. So, yes, to the person who asked the question, it's great that you've narrated 25 books and you may be fabulous at narrating audiobooks, but you may not be so fabulous at any other genre. And maybe you are. It depends on if you can transition your skill set and sort of uh, read differently, use different techniques to get into another genre. So, my suggestion is to work with a coach and see if you can actually get through a commercial because they are narrated very differently. See if you can get through a corporate training video or a telephony piece or a documentary and experiment. See if your voice is right for other genres. If your voice and technique can be right for other genres. I would do that before you put together a demo and market it. Now, I will say that a lot of audiobook narrators have an easier transition time into the commercial world and animation voiceover work and talking toys, cartoons, in other words, other genres which require more of a storytelling emotion. And then there's one other qualification that is if you are recording mainly nonfiction audiobooks, in other words, you're recording information that is pretty factual, then you may have an easier transition into very factual types of voiceover genres like documentaries and corporate training videos. So I would work with a coach, um, me or anyone you feel comfortable with, and just find out if it makes sense for you to. Let me say this differently. I would explore with them the possibility of you moving into other genres and which other genres you could be marketable in.
And again, I think it's so helpful to have a coach to work with where they can talk to you about what your strengths and weaknesses are, honestly. Um, because, yeah, having someone hear you in addition to hearing yourself makes such a difference. Um, Okay. Kathy's just really quickly, I'll take this one. Kathy's asking about how long it takes to get back the finished demo from Edge. I can follow up with you on the status of it, Kathy, but it can take a couple of weeks. Oh, in August? Okay, I'll I'm gonna take care of you personally. Um, okay, Yvette is saying, okay, I think it looks like we're having some talks about coaching, not coaching, but directions you're getting in auditions. So, like Allie is saying, how do you navigate the voice descriptions from clients like edgy, approachable, young, and grounded voice with emotion? Or, Yvette's saying, like, we're selling this product, but don't without a hard sell, like, don't make it a hard sell. So, David, what do you think about these kinds of instructions from our clients?
Yeah. So clients are sometimes very specific as to what it is that they want, and sometimes Their specificity is confusing, ambiguous. Sometimes it's actually not what they really want. Sometimes they're relaying something they've heard from someone else. In other words, the marketing department tells the assistant to find a voice actor who sounds like X, and they tell a casting agent who then tells the production studio manager, and it's the game of telephone, and directions get lost in in translation. So look at the directions that you're given, do some homework, look at what the company puts out, look at their clients, and do your best. And your best typically means um, pretending you're talking to one person, incorporating the emotions that you're being asked to incorporate. So, uh, Siobhan, you just said that as an example, we're selling a product, but we don't want to hard sell. So then just pretend you're talking to a person, a friend, and you're trying to get them to buy something from you. Maybe it's a you're at a maybe you're running a tag sale out of your home or something, and you want someone to buy something, but you're not a hard sell type person. So how would you speak with them? Well, what in fact, more precisely, what would you say to that person? You might say, "Hey, it's a really good product. Like I think this will really help you." You would not stand there face to face with someone and say, "This is a fantastic product. It's one of the best." You wouldn't do a hard sell announcer thing. You just talk with them. And so when you do your recording, just actually add a couple of words to the beginning of the recording, to the beginning of the audition that sort of lead you into that appropriate emotion. So if your script says this is a one-time offer, but the client doesn't want a hard sell, you might record yourself saying, "Hey, this is a really good thing. I mean, I think that you'll like this. I'm asking $10 for it. Make me a best offer, and this is a one-time offer." So you add a couple of words to the beginning of your script. We call it a lead-in. Some voice actors call it a vocal warm-up, a pre-sentencing. Uh, I've heard some other terms for it. And uh, then you just delete that little lead-in before you send off the recording to the script. It's sort of like a ramp-up, a warm-up word. So again, just pretend you're talking to a friend, incorporating those emotions. Here's a great example, actually. Another example. We had a client, and this is going back many years ago. Client asked, they gave us a script, and their directions were be unbelievably. This is, by the way, not verbatim, but something along the lines. The client said, "Be unbelievably super energetic. At the same time, we want a very, very low volume." And the voice actor looked at that script and said, "That's ridiculous. How can I be energetic and but yet speak in a low volume?" And I was directing that session, and I told the voice actor, "Just pretend you're at a library and you see a friend you haven't seen in 20 years. What would you say?" And they said, "Oh, I'd probably say, 'Oh my goodness, look who it is. I haven't seen you in 20 years. It's great to see you.'" And I said, "Well, there's your voice." And so they said that set of words and then continued right into the script. And we just deleted that set of words, that lead in. And it was energetic. She sounded very energetic, but she spoke in a very low volume, as you would in a library. So come up with a time and place that matches the description of the client, and do your thing.
Yeah, I really want to highlight what David is targeting here, which is like just making these things personal to you. And when he talks about speaking to someone, James Andrews has like a few like people that he keeps in his studio, like photos of them that he likes to talk to about the products or the food, whatever it is, right? And he makes it personal to him and to people he knows. And that's what they want. What David has also mentioned earlier today of like your voice, what's special and unique about your sound, and that comes from the places in your life that you channel some of these instructions. I know as a woman, sometimes I've gotten things that are like, be excited but not annoying, and you're like, okay, is that sometimes these instructions are challenging. You're like, cool, I'll just be less annoying with my voice, um but you have to work with them as they can apply to you, and just make them something very specifically and uniquely you, which David has a really good way of bringing that out of other people, which we love to see. um Hi Carol, nice to see you. It's great to have everybody in this chat. Okay, so, Roxana is asking, can you tell us what typically happens in a one-on-one coaching session? And how a package of them works at Edge. Um, and she's a British voice in Doha. Oh, in Qatar. Hi, hi, hi. So yeah, so what goes on, David, in a coaching session
Yeah,
at Edge?
well, it depends on the voice actor. I mean, everything is personal. Uh, Different people need different things. Some new voice actors are just investigating the industry and are just trying to get a handle on whether or not they could be marketable. Some voice actors have some experience and are looking for actual training in a coaching session. Sometimes voice actors have a slew of questions they want answered. It really does depend. The actual coaching itself, I'm assuming that that's the part you're talking about. Essentially, you're learning how to control your voice, how to incorporate direction into your voice. I will say you're not learning how to change your voice because you're born with your voice. The voiceover industry is not about using someone else's voice. It's about using your voice in different applications. Because if you are a British female and we need an American English male, we're not going to hire you. We'll hire an American English male. If we need a British American female, then we could hire you. So your voice is your voice. That's not to really change. What again is to change is how you use your voice. Is there a connection between your brain, your ears, and your mouth? So we can give you direction. Your brain can control your voice. You're able to hear what you're doing. These are the key things that we're looking for in strengthening.
Okay. From Adrian, after creating a demo, when finding potential clients, do you recommend cold calling, social media presence, or online audition websites?
Yes and no. It depends on you. It depends on the kind of work you're going after. It depends on your comfort level. It depends on how much time you have. Um, I I couldn't even begin to tell you what's best for you, but all three can work exceedingly well. And I know voice actors who do each and every one of those and are very successful. And I know some voice actors who do a combination of two or all three of them and are very successful. So again, it depends on lots of factors. So I just there's no way to be more specific because I don't know anything about you and therefore I don't know the best way for you to market.
Um, Erica's asking, most promo VO talent are men, but if we wanted to do it as women, what skills or vocal characteristics would we need to have?
Yeah. One more point to that previous question. Uh, I would love to take on that challenge. If you want to schedule an hour with me, um, help you sort of set a plan on how to market. It would begin with me listening to your voice and throwing you some auditions, some scripts, listening to a demo if you have, and helping you put together a marketing plan. That is something I really enjoy. As far as promos go, female or male, narrating promo is pretty much the same thing. It's an insane amount of clarity on every single word and saying most words declaratively. I've never really thought about it in that term before, but I would say that those are the two paramount vocal techniques necessary to be successful in the promo world. Again, saying words declaratively and being able to add value or clarity to each and every word, sometimes each and every syllable within a word. The From the client's perspective, again, male or female, the client wants to ensure that the key points are communicated to the viewer, right? So that's what are you promoting, whether it's a book exhibit, a talk show on radio, a TV show, whatever it might be. When is that occurring? How can people view it? Is it on a TV channel? Do you have to go in person at a certain time of day? What do you need to do to be able to join in or participate? Those are the key elements, and they need to be ultra, ultra clear. I would say the next level of things to know is that in many cases, music is pretty loud or sound effects are quite loud in these things. So technically, you need a real good studio because your voice track will be highly compressed. And that means any noise in the background of your studio is going to be amplified or enhanced, I should say. So mouth clicks and hum from a furnace or a boiler or anything like that will be extra loud when the mix is done. So you need to have a really high quality sounding studio, virtually noise free, so the your vocals sound good once mixed. And Yeah, I don't think there really is anything special for a woman. There are a lot of females who are narrating promos. There are certainly a lot of programs out there that you require women's voices. I mean, this genre is certainly male dominated at the moment, but I find that more and more channels are relying on women right now. I remember I was working with a woman, a female voice actor, probably as much as 15 or 20 years ago, and she was, I think, the first woman to start narrating documentaries on National Geographic. And at that, I think it was National Geographic, maybe Discovery. But at that point, that channel decided to go to narrate 25% of their documentaries with a woman, and she was the first one in, and she was psyched. And she got a lot of work, which was nice.
I want to just shout some people out. Tom, I'm skipping your question about niche agencies because we're not experts on niche agencies. And I want to say, Mark, you were talking about your demo. So the team emailed your demo in mid-October. So we can chat about making sure you find it, but maybe double check your inboxes because they've sent it to you. And so there we go with that. And then my queen, Dina, she's saying when you're cold, when you're approaching a company cold, what are some ways to say their current voice projects need improvement? This is a great question. For
Yeah.
example, I just heard a large company's compliance videos, and they would be very difficult for a non-native English speaker to understand. How might I say that with grace?
Great question. I'm looking forward to answering that. But I just had a flashback, everyone, I want to share with you, going back to the previous question about female in promos. And I remember an agent sent me a female voice actor who they wanted to become the voice of the pet channel. This was probably 20 years ago. 20, let me think when that would have been. Probably around 95, 1996-ish, maybe. Yeah, about 25 or so years ago. It was before we had software that offered time expansion and time compression. And the network loved this woman's voice. Sounds so archaic. They loved her voice so much, but her timing was off. And because we didn't have software that could just, like I said, compress or expand the timing of the voice track, they wanted me to train her to be better at timing down to the 100th of a second. So they would say, "Look, David, help her learn how to read these 5 words, like next on the planet, the pet channel or something like that. Animal Planet, that's what it was on the Animal Planet channel. They wanted me to train her so she could say something like that in 3.12 seconds or 3.23 seconds. It was crazy, and she was really good. And we worked hard, and she got down to probably nailing it within a tenth of a second to the 100th of a second. I mean, it's virtually impossible. But man, that's an old flashback. To the next question. Um, I was so sure I would remember it, and how embarrassing that I don't now. Oh no. What was the question again, Siobhan?
You know what? We forgive each other in November of 2020. Am I right? Like it's
Oh, I'm doing
20,
my
end of 2020. We're just gonna be like, David, it's okay.
well, you watch the
We're
debates, and when the moderator asks a question and the other person is answering it, the candidate's writing notes so they remember what to say. I'm not writing notes. Maybe I should. Maybe I should sleep more. Anyway, remind me the question, because it was a good question. I was looking
It's
forward to
really
answering it.
good. Yes, it's Dina talking about how to gracefully
Oh,
and
right,
gracefully.
right. Yeah. Yeah. So you have before you sort of um, tell a client, what you currently have is no good and I can make it better. You have to know who you're talking to. You have to understand their personality. You have to have some sort of relationship with them. Because if someone out of the blue says to you, your work sounds pretty crappy, that could be a big turnoff to someone. As for an example, we once sent out an audition to a group of voice actors, and one voice actor wrote back to us and said the first thing on their audition was, "I fixed your script, no charge." Like we were like, "What?" And actually, there was not a problem with the script. It was the way the client wanted it. So we didn't even play it for the client because it would have only really upset them. It would have turned them off. If you have a decent relationship with a client, I think it's and you are if you can be approachable and say things in a helpful way, then I think it's wonderful to be able to make a suggestion. Okay, so you can say, look, I love working with you. Your stuff is great. We've had a good working relationship. I noticed that on some of your scripts or some of your other recordings from other voice actors, there's some noise, and I'd be happy to see if I can actually give you a recording without that noise. I would make sure to never say it's their fault. Never use words that indicates or suggest that the person you're speaking with is at air. Um, be open to it. Make sure you offer a suggestion. Like, it's not just about saying something is wrong, but how can you help make it better? And again, take it from a perspective of helping the client. I think that that would probably be very important. We have done a couple of times, we've gone through this even at Edge Studio, where we've put together a before and after. So we've taken a script for a company that we want to work with, and it's something that's horrible quality, and we take a 5-second portion of their current recording, and then we re-record it with our quality, and we splice it together. So you have 5 seconds of the old, 5 seconds of the new, just like you see TV commercials, the before and the after. And we'll get that to the client. And most of the time, the clients say, "Wow." They don't they hadn't realized how poor their first recording was. That actually brings up a good point too, because putting down a client for their lack of quality may not only upset them, but may confuse them, because very often clients don't know that they don't have good quality. They think, I recorded something into a phone, and it's my voice. It's got to sound okay, but there's echo on it and it sounds horrible, or they've mispronounced words, and they don't recognize it because they're not voice actors. They don't know what to listen for. So sometimes I think part of the process is just educating the client as well. So again, come at them from a helpful perspective, educate them, let them know how you can make things better. Never allude to the fact that they are responsible in any way for the lack of quality. Maybe those are the things I would look out for.
Yeah, she said she's got like a addiction issue with the VO, unfortunately. So like how would you how would how would you approach that, David,
Well,
if you were
so
writing?
specifically, number one, the client may not care, right? They may not care. They may say this compliance video is for internal employees only, and so it's not worth our time and or money to re-record anything. They may say that most of our clients, most of our employees speak English, American English, as their mother tongue. So again, we don't need to worry about it. They may say we only have 2 or 3 employees who don't speak English as their mother tongue, and so we'll help them through it. So again, it may not be worth the time or costs for the client. Um, but if the client, well, you do your homework, and if the compliance video is likely being played internationally, then suggest it to the client. Say, look, your company is great. You and I have a good working relationship. I am concerned that some of your employees may not understand the recording, simply for the fact that there are colloquialisms in the recorded track, or contracted words in the recorded track. And as a voice actor who works in numerous countries, I understand how important these factors are, and I'd be more than happy to take a shot at re-recording this thing, and letting you hear what the difference it could make.
Wow. Okay, that's awesome. Thank you, David.
Mhm.
I also just I love the they may not care. Like just the truthful,
They don't
the
sometimes.
yeah, no, no, it's awesome. It's super helpful. You all are amazing. Okay, so hey, it's like that time to wrap up because that hour just like flew by. So I want to tell you a few things that are going on here at Edge Studio in our last minute here. We have a Twisted Wave next week. So if people are like learning about Twisted Wave or want to know what's going on, it's a 101 class with our incredible Art Bruder. He's such a gent. That's November 10th. It's an intro class. just to get you very comfortable with what Twisted Wave is. And then auditions. We talked about auditions a little bit today and directions you get and all that stuff. The incredible Jen Sims, based in LA, will be teaching that class, and she is a hoot and a holler. And then, of course, as always, we have our Ask Me Anything coaching code. If you would like to get some private coaching with us, use the code AMA. Oh, yeah, I wonder if that link works. That might be an old link. Use the code AMA, and you can get $25 off. And if you have any issues with that, just talk to me on social media. And you can find me on social media. You can find us at Edge Studio. That's on Twitter. And we're Edge Studio VO on Instagram. So please follow us. And I'm the voice, the digital voice, the internet voice, of Edge Studio. So please give me your handles as well in the chat so that I can be sure I'm following you and we can all follow each other. You are all totally amazing. I appreciate you being here. It's really nice to be with you all and think about voiceover, on this day in our lives. You guys are all super, super great. And David, any last words from you?
No, thanks everyone. Well, that is my last word.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Yeah.
I wish you a great 2 weeks. I'm looking at the chat. I see some of you saying you'll be back in 2 weeks, so I look forward to that. Thank you for the questions. Siobhan,
Yes.
thanks for moderating. You're awesome. You're all awesome. Thanks.
David, we don't have you next week, right? Because it's the 19th.
Yes,
So
2 weeks from now. 2 weeks.
So 2 weeks from now is going to be me.
Oh,
Jen
right.
Sims
I won't be
is
on in 2
teaching.
weeks.
Yes, so I'll be there with Jen Sims, who's going to be teaching Auditions 101, and also our Director of Education, Jonathan Anderson, will be hanging out with us. So it'll be a whole new crew of party people, and it's going to be super fun.
Wow,
but
so this will be I won't be here for a month then, right? 2 weeks and 2 weeks. Wow. Yeah, everyone, I will not be here in 2 weeks. I forgot about that.
Well, David, we'll miss you, and we'll
I will
sing
miss
Journey.
all of you.
Okay, we'll do a group sing along to Journey just for you. Okay, you're great. Dawn, you're great. It's such a pleasure to see you. Oh my gosh, it's great to see you, Carol, Dina, all my stars. And where's Tony? Did Tony leave? No, he's there. I love you, Tony. Steven, great to see you. Your backdrop's beautiful. There he is. You guys are so fantastic. Please take care. Have a good evening. And someday we'll go to Paris, we'll all go. Okay. Mwah. Farewell until next time. Bye.